play of the drive. Here making gets the handoff. He's going to walk in.
That'll keep him quiet.
What a touchdown, Eagle.
That is flawless.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of a Top 25 Breakdown. Today we have 21 Northwestern, and they did really well last year. They went 9-5. They finished 9-5. They went 8-4 in the regular season. Obviously, a loss to Ohio State in the conference championship, and then a win
against Utah
in the bowl game, which is really solid. They look to
Utah. Shit the bet on that one, but
yeah, they did. They obviously gave the game away, kind of. They look to defend their 2018 title in 2019, and to kind of solidify that they are a serious contender in the West.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously, looking at like what they did last year, they had some solid wins.
Especially. Well, I mean, I would say a good solid win was against Michigan State. Nebraska had a down year, unfortunately, but they did pull that out in overtime. Nebraska was trying to get back in the game and secure the W.
Then they had a good win on a Purdue team, which Purdue gave that away. So Northwestern got lucky on that game, especially when Purdue's getting much better, and they will be a lot better in 2019.
Gave Michigan a scare too.
Yeah. Michigan. It was 2017. Gave Notre Dame a little scare, but Notre Dame eventually kind of pulled the weight on that one.
Yep. Saw Ohio State in the conference championship game. It just was not good for them.
It was at their night, and we could see that.
Played them tough in the first half.
Yeah, it was pretty tough in the first half, but with that talent gap, Ohio State could just pull away with that. Northwestern does bring back some good production pieces, but they do have some concerns for 2019 season.
Oh yeah, the concerns that I think they have are definitely at the quarterback position. They do lose Clayton Thornton, a 4-year starter, 4-year vet. But they do have Hunter Johnson too. That was a Clemson transfer, as well as T.J. Green, who has already been out Northwestern, so he has some experience with Pat Fitzgerald and whatnot, as well as overall just the offensive production, which Northwestern normally lacks.
Yeah, and obviously losing Clayton Thornton is huge because he was statistically their best quarterback in the Northwestern history or whatever.
Yep.
And then obviously O-line, they lost 3 of their starters from last year, and interior D-line takes a huge hit, especially because they lose Jordan Thompson and their second and third string defensive tackles again to stop the run.
Yep.
So they do, obviously there are some concerns, but they do bring back some good talent.
Some key players.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting with obviously a running back in the backfield with Isaiah Bowser.
Very reliable. He in the 2018 season, he's shown that he was very reliable. He wasn't he wasn't the starting back.
Yeah, he didn't even play like the first half of the season.
He didn't play a good amount of the season. Yep.
Yeah, but then obviously they do also bring back a good receiver with Bennett Skornek. Obviously a good D end, Joe Gazzano, Patty Fisher, and Blake Gallagher, which led the team in tackles,
as well as J.R. Pace and Travis Willock at the safety position.
Yeah.
So they bring defensively on the defensive side of the ball. They bring a lot of talent back.
Yeah, they do bring, and a lot of guys that can produce.
A lot of leadership.
Yeah. So a lot of guys that can get obviously tackles and create like turnovers and stuff. So obviously, with that being said, one of the strengths is obviously defense.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's got to be defense, especially with Pat Fitzgerald. Defense is going to be huge for them this 2019 season. If you think they're going to take a step back, you're wrong. They're going to probably be just as good or even better than they were last year. So
absolutely, especially because I think Northwestern is known to have that stout defense. They're going to always have a good defense off the jump. They might get worn out later in the game.
Yeah.
Hopefully Pat can get that fixed up and get him better conditioned and have him ready to go throughout all 4 quarters of the game. But aside from that, defense is definitely 100% probably their number 1 strength.
Right. They do bring back a lot of they have a deep receiving core this coming year, so it'll help out whoever the quarterback is going to be. They obviously expect a much deeper and more explosive set of receivers. Obviously, Ben Skornek, who had the heroic touchdown against Iowa to send them to the division title game. And also, Riley Lees should be a reliable option in the slot. But the bigger question is, can they find somebody that can stretch the field, especially with their offense?
Yeah. Another strength that you didn't hit on was just the coaching in itself. Just having Pat Fitzgerald and his company that he's had with him for a good amount of time. I think he might have lost a few coordinators or a few positional coaches.
Right.
But that's nothing that he can't fill the role. Pat Fitzgerald has done a great job so far at Northwestern. He's making them very consistent on the field and as well as like on the field, because these athletes have to be academically strong as well, because Northwestern is known as a great institution. So.
Yeah, especially for academics. Yeah, and also the fact that they're also building onto their facilities. That's a huge recruiting tool, especially because a lot of the young guys want to obviously go to places where they can
state-of-the-art facilities. You want the best things. You want the best stuff. Of course you do.
Yeah, of course, and it's obviously on Lake Michigan, so obviously, it's beautiful.
It's a great. Right now it's the most expensive field house. Most likely it's going to be the best field house in the country.
Yeah, it'll be the best for a while. Like, there's no way of topping that for...
Not until Alabama jumps on board or whatever.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
One of the Blue Bloods will jump in and make another great facility.
Yeah.
State of the art.
There are some weaknesses with this Northwestern team. One of them being obviously quarterback.
Oh, quarterback's 100%. Like we mentioned before, they lost Clayton Thorson, so that they lost that veteran and that leadership. They're really going to be reaching for leadership among Hunter Johnson and TJ Green, who right now are the two, I guess, experienced quarterbacks, in the sense that Hunter Johnson has been there for a year. He did sit out last year because he did transfer, and TJ Green, who's a senior, has already been part of the program, and he's just been sitting behind Clayton Thorson. As well as that, the offensive efficiency has just not been great for Northwestern.
Right. Yeah.
They were ranked 123rd in average yards per play at 4.95 yards per play. That's just not good.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's just not good. And we're hoping, obviously, you're hoping with either TJ Green starting or Hunter Johnson starting, we're hoping that changes. That offense gets the giddy up going, and they get really meshed well with the receivers as well as Isaiah Bauer in the backfield. We're hoping to bump that up tremendously.
Right.
Especially if you're the defending West Division champions. You gotta get that. You gotta get better with that. You can't rely too much on your defense. It's gotta be both sides of the ball playing at 100%.
On that offensive, staying on that offensive side, they do lose 3 of the starters on the offensive line. So obviously they will be getting a new left tackle, which is going to be a huge position to watch, just because of the fact that that's the person that obviously has to protect the quarterback the most. And if we're looking ahead, when they go up against Iowa, AJ Epineza is going to line up right across from the new left tackle, and that'll be a very interesting matchup to see. And obviously interior D-line's a huge weakness, just because of the fact they lost Jordan Thompson and their second and third string defensive tackles, so that will have an effect on how they play against the run this year. I think Alex Miller, a senior this year, he will definitely have to fill that role somehow, or at least they'll try to fill that role, and especially because their 2019 schedule does not get any easy.
Yeah, they start off the season strong at Stanford. It's gonna be a tough game for them right off the jump.
Really.
I think this is a game they have to win. This is where you kind of set the tone
for the season. Yeah.
For the season, especially where we're now accustomed to Northwestern starting off a little rough, always starting either 1-3, 2-3.
They start slow.
Start very slow, but then they finish strong, which is great. It's great to have that accolade, but you gotta be ready to go, running at full force right from the start of the season.
Yeah, I think that's you hit that pretty well. I think good teams, obviously they can start however they want, but great teams, they always start really strong, and they keep that momentum throughout the whole season.
And they execute well always.
Yeah. So obviously Stanford's going to be a tough game. Then they have a bye. They have an easy one against UNLV, and then they have to host Michigan State, at Wisconsin, at Nebraska, another bye, and then Ohio State.
And I think I'm going to assume that during that first bye week, right after Stanford, I think they're going to be looking ahead, trying to prepare for Michigan State. I don't feel they should be worried for UNLV. They should not be a game that they should be shaking in their boots. They should be really worrying about. But they do need to give UNLV their respect and their time and their attention. You can't just overlook UNLV, because that could be a trap game. But I do think that they're going to take a piece of that bye week and think about Michigan State or at Wisconsin further down the road.
Right, and a bye right before Ohio State, so that means that gives them 2 weeks to prepare for Ohio State, and then I think that game's a night game as well. So obviously it's a perfect storm for them. And then after Ohio State, then they play Iowa, a West Division showdown, really, because I think by then that'll determine who is going to win the West. in the Big Ten.
You think it'll come down to that game?
I think so. I think it came down to it last year, so I think that
That's fair.
this year I think it'll come down to it again.
I'm thinking if Wisconsin figures out their quarterback issue, I think Wisconsin is definitely going to have something to say about that. I think they're definitely going to be in play to win the West Division. So
Yeah, then after Iowa, they do have to go to Indiana, host Purdue, host UMass, host Minnesota, and then finish the season at Illinois, which honestly, they could win all of those games at the end of the season.
including I'm going to say including the Iowa game.
Yeah.
You know what? Dare I say it? Including the Ohio State game.
Oh, you're crazy. But all right, so what do you think the worst case scenario is?
Worst case scenario, this is like we hit him before. This team's strong defensively. If as long as they fix the quarterback issue, as long as they fix the offensive woes, I'm thinking this. At worst case scenario, this is going to be a 7-5 team.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a team where they're going to be okay. They're going to keep getting better. Pat Fitzgerald has done his job to make them consistent. And he's gonna keep making his team better throughout the years, and I think he's gonna keep recruiting well, especially with the facilities that he has now. This is still, that's worst case scenario. I think this team's better than that, but definitely I can see him dropping a few games that they shouldn't have dropped.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that, but I will go not 7-5, but I do think they either step back to 6-6 or 5-7. I do think that their schedule, obviously, the first 5 of the 6 games are extremely tough, I don't know how they will do against those teams, especially with the quarterback position, the O-line issue, the defensive interior line might be like a concern, especially because teams might want to exploit that. So I think that might be an issue. Also, I just noticed this right now. Looking at this team and when we looked at Boise State not too long ago,
right,
they're almost identical because they both have a quarterback issue. Because they both had 4-year starters that just left.
Yes. Yeah. You just pointed that out, and it's one of those things where you have to your backup has to be ready.
Yeah.
And I think it's different in the sense that Boise State always finds a quarterback that can fit their
schemes
and their molds and what they want to do with them. So Boise State can always solve that issue. I've never worried for a quarterback over at Boise State.
Right.
Here at Northwestern, it's completely different in the sense that you have a senior who hasn't played very much, has always been sitting on the bench or on the ready behind Clayton Thorson, a 4-year vet, and then you also have a 5-star caliber recruit who first went to Clemson and transferred over to Northwestern.
Yeah, with very little experience.
Very limited experience. So they don't have a set answer right off the jump. So I'm hoping that they're able to solve that as the summer goes on.
Yeah. So what do you think the most likely scenario is for Northwestern?
Most likely scenario, I'm thinking this Northwestern team is going to get back to 8-4 in the regular season.
Yeah.
And maybe by the end of it, we'll see. They might get back to the Big Ten championship for the West Division. As long as it's only assuming that Iowa is having a down year, not doing so well, and if Wisconsin doesn't solve their quarterback issue.
Right, I do agree with that. I do think that they will go 8-4 again. I don't know if they will get to the conference championship again, but I do know that obviously an 8-4 season is nothing to laugh at.
No,
especially because of Pat Fitzgerald, he does a good job of getting those kind of wins, getting tough wins. I do think that they could pull an upset on Ohio State this year, and which could honestly change the whole season at that point, and they could probably finish a little better.
Yeah, give them a lot of momentum if you beat Ohio State. Like you said before, it's a perfect storm for them. It's a night game. It's at Northwestern, Ohio State, and it's in the middle of the season. And Ohio State, like we all know, drops a game that they should not be dropping. Yeah. They do it in a very bad fashion. Yeah. When it's away. So. Yeah,
8-4 is the most likely season for them. And for my best case scenario, I think that they will get their either 9 or 10 wins this season. I do think that their schedule is tough. I do think that their defense is much better than people think, and is going to be a lot better this 2019 season, especially with Patty Fisher and the Gallagher kid. I think they're going to be phenomenal. Yeah. I think obviously linebackers are a huge position on the defense.
Definitely.
And obviously you have a returning defensive end that can get to the quarterback really quickly. And that'll be huge.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I'm right with you on the same page. I'm thinking the best case scenario they win 9 games, and again that's not a bad season, 9-3, and you at that point you probably won your West Division. They're probably gonna go back to the conference championship game. Their defense is definitely gonna keep them in games. In my mindset with that 9-3, I'm assuming that they would have answered their offensive issues, and they're substantially better on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Also noting this. when Ohio State, we've noticed this, when Ohio State does go to play teams like in like a cross division game, like a couple of years ago, it was at Iowa. They lost really badly to Iowa. It was a night game, and then last year they lost to Purdue, a very bad loss to them, to the Boilermakers, obviously, and another night game. This year they go to Northwestern, a night game. If you want to bet on any game, I think that this game, I think Northwestern pulls an upset over Ohio State, and I think that changes the whole season for Northwestern this season
in a big fashion. I'm saying if you really want to set a bet down, I'd say Northwestern wins this 2+ touchdowns. 2+ touchdowns. This is again, like we hinted at this before. I already said this. This is the perfect storm. This is probably the game Ohio State drops. Northwestern can win this, and they can propel them to pretty much win out the entire season with the remaining 5-6 games that they have.
Yeah, and then at the end of the season, the conference championship, it could be a rematch of that game, and that game, honestly, it could go either way because it'll be a neutral site game in Indianapolis. And that'll be a very good matchup if it's a rematch. Again,
if Northwestern beats Ohio State in the middle of the season and they see them again in the conference championship game, I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to say that I will be rooting for Northwestern, and I think it's gonna be a very close game.
Right. And also, what if Iowa? What if Northwestern loses to Ohio State in the middle of the season, but they see them again? I think that time, the second time around, I think Northwestern might be able to win them.
Might be able to pull it. They might be able to will themselves to that win. Yeah.
I think that game in itself is going to be very, like, it's very important, and like what sets like the tone for this whole season. Like, yeah, it's in the middle of the season, but like it sets the tone for like the back half of the season and how they finish, because that's the most important part. It's how you finish and if you're going to go to the conference championship,
and where you stand among the top 10 or the top 15 teams, and if you win the Big Ten, you're most likely going to get a really good bowl, New Year's Six bowl.
Right. New Year's Six bowl does seem likely for them this year.
At this point right now, I'm thinking it is, but this is, with the caveat that as long as they fix the offensive issues, I think they're going to be a great team, and they're going to go, and they may contend for the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah. So obviously we broke down number 21 Northwestern, a Big Ten West team that has the potential to be very, very, very good this year, especially with the conference that has obviously Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, Purdue, Indiana, Illinois, and all them. But thanks, guys, for watching this video. If you guys liked it, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. It helps us out. Thanks, guys, for watching this video. See you in a couple days.
Thanks, guys.